Hi guys, good morning. How are you doing? Welcome to the channel. If it's your first time, welcome. Thank you for coming and stopping by. Please remember to like, share, subscribe. And if you're one of my ardent supporters, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for your support. I'm here this morning sitting down because I wanted to do a video. It's going to be on a very sensitive topic. But I saw this news article and it troubled me so much. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the young lady. I feel compassion in my heart for her. And I wanted to address the topic of teenage pregnancy. And I think I have a right to speak about it, being a product of one. I'm going to address some sensitive situations. I'm going to talk about sensitive information that I know, for example, my mother would rather that I don't talk about, but this is my truth and I'm going to talk about it. It's not to offend anyone. It's not to bring anyone down. It's with the aim to help someone, to help people who might find themselves going through a particular situation, especially teenage pregnancy. Okay, so like I said before, I'm a product of teenage pregnancy. And I grew up with my great-grandmother, God bless her soul. And I'm going to say it as it is. I didn't like my life growing up as a child. I didn't like it. I loved my grandmother. I know that she loved me, but I just didn't like my life growing up. And that was one of the reasons is that I sensed rejection from my mother. I don't know if she's ashamed to admit it or if, but like I said, it's not to pull her down. It's just to share my information and to help someone. So while I was growing up, I knew it. Maybe she doesn't know that she projected that feeling on me, but I knew that she didn't like me. I knew that every time she saw me, it reminded her of something. I didn't know what that something was, but I knew it. Like I said, I didn't grow up with her, but the minute she came in my environment, I could feel that spirit of rejection. At the time, I couldn't put words to it because I wasn't learned. I had not learned about it. But as I went to school and started doing psychology and sociology and whatever, then I started putting words to my feelings. So I grew up with a sense of rejection. And I'm going to talk about it because, like I said, I want to help someone. All right. So when I was growing up, like I said a while ago, and I'm going to repeat myself, I didn't feel like my mother liked me. I wouldn't say love because love is different from like. So she probably loved me, but I didn't feel like she liked me. I didn't feel like she wanted me in her environment, in her space. And now I understand why. So I wanted to talk about this because of a news article that I saw, and it broke my heart. It broke my heart to know that in today's day and age, a young person would do something like that. So it's this article. It was a news article about a young lady in New Mexico who was pregnant. I guess she got pregnant at 18 in senior high school. She hid the pregnancy and then she went to the hospital complaining of back pain. Guess she was in labor, but she complained of back pain. And by the time they were there questioning her, doing tests or whatever, I guess the labor pain came on forcefully. She ran to the washroom. The child came out. She placed the child in a plastic bag. I'm just giving you a synopsis of it. She placed the child in a plastic bag, put the child in a garbage bag, and then she ripped the placenta apart and flushed it. And they had tried, administrators had tried several times to go to check on her to find out if she was okay. So when authority threatened to come in on her, she came out. And she came out, when you look at the video, she came out as if nothing had happened. And I give her kudos for that. To have just had a baby and come out walking that strong and everything, kudos. She's very strong. Anyways, the sad part about it is that the child died. And now she's being charged for murder. And it troubled me. It troubled me. I was up after 11 texting my friend, asking her opinion on it, because then I reflected on my life and I was like, girl, you need to give your mother respect. You need to love her unconditionally, and you need to let go of that feeling. You need to let go of that feeling of rejection that you're still carrying. But like I said, I'm addressing this so that I can help people. So my husband and I, we met when we were very young. And when we met, one of the things we discovered that we shared in commonality was that we were both product of teenage pregnancies. We both didn't like our lives. And I was doing home economics, so I was privy to a lot of information. I was privy to information about contraceptives, about family life, about the ideal family life, what it should be. And right there and then I told myself, oh, I want to have my kids in wedlock. I want to have a nuclear family. I started speaking the things I wanted as I learned. I knew I didn't want to be a teenage mother, and I told my boyfriend at the time that it ain't gonna happen. So as much as people would not believe, but a lot of that was possible because of abstinence. We were very close, but I knew when to say stop. I knew when to say stop, because when I was going to school, one of my teacher, I will never forget her, in one of my home economics class, I think it was home management or something, but we're talking about a topic, I think it was contraceptive too, and she said, there is nothing wrong with sex. Don't let anybody tell you that. Sex is very beautiful, but it should be done at the right time, with the right person, and for the right reason. And that never left me. And at the right place. And that never left me. I was like, oh, because in my environment, people behaved as if sex was this nasty thing that no one should do or whatever. But because I got that kind of information and I was educated, I knew that nothing was wrong with it, but at the same time, I didn't need to rush into it. So persons saw me with this guy and they probably thought, oh, she must be sexually active. He waited a few years, and you can ask him. He waited, and I'm not going to say that we didn't pet her, we didn't kiss her, whatever, but the minute it got to a certain stage, I knew to say, stop. I ain't going to be a teenage mother. All right, so we were able to have a relationship and everything. We didn't become teenage parents. We did not become teenage parents, and that was because we were intentional about that. Now, I noticed that this girl hid it from her mother, and I'm just trying to imagine why she would have done something like that, because I'm thinking that she didn't want to be a disappointment to her family. She didn't want to be a disappointment to her community, our communities, whatever those communities were, because she was a cheerleader. She was on the choir. She was doing well. She had a 3.8 something GPA, and she was doing well. So I guess she didn't want to disappoint all the persons who were looking up to her. But at the same time, I cannot understand what thought process she went through to have done what she did. And that is the reason why I want to talk about teenage pregnancy and how people treat others when they become pregnant. Because sometimes people behave as if it's the biggest crime that could happen. And they allow persons to feel bad about themselves. And then that filters over onto the child. Because as I spoke, what I remember, once I was sitting and I was so hurt, and I decided to write my mother a letter to let her know how I felt growing up as a child. That was in 2018, so just recently, how I felt as a child and whatever. And she was shocked because I never showed that any form of animosity towards her. Because one thing, growing up, I was afraid of her. So I never disrespected her. I never talked back or whatever. I would keep everything inside, but I was hurting. So I wrote her, and she responded, and she said, this is deep. I would have never thought that you felt this way. And then when she told me her story, I felt compassion towards her, because I was like, oh my God, a child going through this. So there are things I cannot say on this because it's very sensitive, and I don't want to look like I'm pulling down the church because I'm affiliated with church. So there are things I cannot say and I will not say to protect the church and to protect my mother, because she didn't give me permission to share certain information. But when she shared her story with me, I felt compassion for her. I felt as though I had done her some wrong. Because when she got pregnant in church, my grandmother was put to the back bench. And she felt as if she had committed a crime because she got pregnant. She was very smart, a very bright girl. I was told that. I was always compared to her because we went to the same primary school, and I was always compared to her. Oh, your mother was so bright, especially when I wasn't doing my work. And then I remember once I was in another grade and a student commented that, oh, Danette is so bright. And the teacher said, oh, you should have met her mother. So I always heard that she was a bright girl. She was in high school, St. Jago, doing well. And things happen. I know she didn't go out to get me, but things happened. She had me. And having the kind of grandmother that she had, she would have had to carry that child. Abortion was not a part of my grandmother's history as a Christian. So she would have had to carry me. But at the same time, I'm sure that she was told things were said to her that would have hurt her, that would have reminded her that she was a mistake and she was carrying a mistake, and things must have been said to her why she would have rejected me, not knowing that she did. And as I listened to the analysis of this girl, there's this man I listened to, I don't remember his name right now, but I put a clip here. He was analyzing the whole situation, and he was talking about the fact that she was in denial. She was in denial that she was pregnant, and she denied it to the fact that even when she was talking about the child, she described the child as it and nothing. She did not call it a baby or anything. And as I listened to the man, I said, oh my God, I've never been a teenage mother, so I don't know what they go through. I don't know what kind of experiences they have. But I realized that it's not a good feeling. And at the same time, when you're going through it and you know that you don't have support. So as I was saying, I think she probably made that decision because she was scared to tell her mother. She didn't want to be a disappointment to them. And I'm thinking that it is so unfortunate that she would think that it would be better to commit a crime than to seek the support of her family or her friends or the boyfriend or whoever, because he said he didn't know she was pregnant either. And that girl had a bump, so I just don't understand. Oh, no one saw it. Her mother, she was in the house with her mom for 9 months and her mother didn't see it. But I have compassion for her. I really pray that they would be lenient with her in the charges, because I don't want to know what kind of thought process she must have gone through to make that kind of decision, because it was gruesome. Just listening to it, I can't imagine the place she was at to do something like that. And that, I'm going to tell the truth, heightened my respect for my great-grandmother, who is in her grave right now, because that is one thing. She was so supportive of her grandchildren. Of course, everybody wants their children to be successful. Nobody wants their child to be dropping out of school with babies and whatever. But things happen. Things happen. And I just believe that as parents, as relatives, as friends, as community members, as whoever we are, we should be supportive of these young people. We should let them feel like they have someone to come to, someone to run to. I can't understand how she could have been affiliated with so many different groups and there was no one who saw that she was pregnant or who felt the need to help, to support her, to give her encouragement, to guide her in the right direction so that she wouldn't have committed such a crime. And because I'm going into that, I'm going to go into a story, and I hope this one won't offend my son, because if you're new to the channel or whatever, my son is 20 and he has a baby. Of course, I didn't expect that from him because all the time he was growing up, he always told me that he didn't want any children. Of course, when he said it, I always said maybe unkind things to him. I always said, oh, it's because you're mean and you don't want to share your life. It's because whatever, whatever. So when I heard that his girlfriend was pregnant, I was like, wow, be careful what you wish for, done it. Anyways, he wasn't the one who told me. The girlfriend was very excited about it, so she had put it on social media and someone saw it and gave me a hint. And I was in the house with him for about a week. I was boiling. I was kind of angry because I was looking at the fact that I wanted him to go to college, university, or whatever, because the pandemic was coming to an end and I wanted him to pick up back his life. We'd gotten our documents and it was now time for him to pick up his life and go sort out his life. And then I realized it was killing him because he's my child. I know him. He doesn't talk a lot, but I can know when he's not comfortable, when he has issues bothering him. And I realized it was bothering him. I'd spoken to my husband about it. And I told my husband, I said, you know what, I'm going to approach him. And I called him and both of us sat down with him and we spoke to him. We told him that and he was like, oh, mommy, because he doesn't really talk loud. He was just mumbling. And I looked at him and I said, listen to me. This is the day you're going to grow up. This is the day you're going to become a man. Because number one, I'm pro-life. So I won't suggest any other thing other than allow that baby to come. And I know the young lady would have wanted her baby as well. So that was not a part of the decision. And I told him, I said, I know you always said you didn't want a child. It's a lot of responsibility, but you're going to have to grow up today. As of today, you're no longer a boy. You're now a man. You're going to have to grow up and you're going to take up your responsibilities because your name will not be associated with deadbeat. It will not be associated with absentee. I said, my desire for you would have been to go to university, finish, get married, have your own house, and then kids, if that was your desire. But things happen. I said to him, I said, there are hundreds of people, thousands of people out there with all the resources you could think of. They would want a child. And for some reason, whatever reason, they don't have one. Thank God. You don't know why he's giving you a child at this point in your life. Although if you had abstained, which you should have been doing, that would have happened. But you didn't. The baby is here. Deal with it. Deal with it. I said, I'm not 100% happy about it, but it's a life. I'll never allow that child to feel rejection because I know how that feels. But you're going to have to be responsible and you're going to have to do what you have to do. I also got to the point where I started thinking about what people would think about me and what people would think and whatever. And I said, you know what? I don't care. I don't care what people want to think about me. I don't care what people want to think about my child because he's doing the right thing. He's allowing that child to come forth. Someone not having a grandchild to show doesn't mean that their child has never gotten pregnant or doesn't mean that their son has never gotten a girl pregnant because there are options. There are many options. But like I said, I always encourage people to bring life forward. I don't encourage abortion, but this is the one story I've heard of, or not just the one, but this is one of the stories I've heard of where I said to myself, it would have been better if she had made that decision more than to carry the child to a full term and now be charged for murder. I'm so compassionate towards her. I remember in the Bible when the woman who had committed fornication or adultery and they wanted to stone her, and Jesus said, he that is without sin cast the first stone, and no one could cast it. I'm not without sin, so I'm not here to judge her, but I have compassion towards her because I cannot imagine why or how she could have done something like that. I still can't fathom it. But like I said, when I saw it, it just allowed me to reflect on my life and to be grateful to God that my great-grandmother would have been there to support my mother. And it might not have been what my mother would have wanted, what my grandmother would have wanted, for anyone in the family or people in the community would have expected or wanted. But I'm happy that my grandmother was willing to support in the midst of the crisis to support and to say, hey, give me this baby, I'll take care of her. And I mean, there are other options. She could have had the baby and given up the baby for adoption. There are so many persons out there on waiting list wanting a child. Why would she choose to put the baby in a bag? And I'm not saying that judging her. I'm just trying to understand her thought process when she did that. I don't know. I'm like that. Sometimes I hear things on the news and it bothers me. I don't know the people from Adams, but it bothers me. That is why I don't really listen a lot of news, because I have to protect my mental health. Because I like to process information. It's not like I hear it and it goes away, depending on what it is. And especially because I love kids. So hearing that someone had the heart to take a child out of them, put that child in a bag and discard it like it was a piece of garbage, it breaks my heart. And I'm wondering, like, what kind of society are we living in? That people will put success before life. People would put wanting to please people and pretend that they're perfect before a life. That child did not get a chance at life. Right there in the hospital where there were doctors to help this child, the child did not get a chance at life because she did not believe that she had the kind of support that would have forgiven her and understand that it's a natural thing where when you're going through certain ages, your body is going to have certain feelings. Sometimes you give in and nobody knows. Her body was fertile and she got pregnant. Maybe she was not educated enough to know about the precautions, or maybe things happened because she kept saying she was a virgin. So she was in so much denial. I don't know. She was doing cheerleading right through within the 9 months with the belly, with the pregnancy. And when I listened, I was like, wow, I didn't know that people could be in denial up to that level. I didn't know. But like I said, I just want to encourage persons or individuals. You might be listening to this and you have young people in your life or in your whatever community you're affiliated with. Don't judge them. Be willing to support and to offer help and to let them know that if they make a quote-unquote mistake, because I called myself a mistake up until about 2018, and I remember I said it one day. I was talking to a guy and I was like, you know, I'm my mother's biggest mistake, and he got so mad at me and he said, don't you ever say that again. You have to be careful what you speak over your life. And I kind of learned to let it go. I know that I'm no mistake. God knows why Donnet Andreen O'Connor was born. He knew. He knows. So support young people. Encourage them. Be there for them. When they make mistakes, don't let them feel like it's the end of the world. People can come around and pick up their lives and pick up the pieces and move on. I am for those parents who support their children when they do, I'm not saying crime or whatever, I'm saying when these things happen, like they get into sexual relationships and they get pregnant. Don't encourage them to abort it. And don't let them feel like they have done the worst thing. Let them know before that they can come to you. They can expect your support no matter what. Let them know that there's evil, there's good, there's bad, but always choose to do the right thing, because there are repercussions for the bad choices that we make. Because that girl, like I said, I hope they'll be lenient with her, because I think they can actually say that she was mentally challenged why she did that, because nobody in their right mind would do that. So she might get off a bit on the case. But don't allow it to get to that stage. We need to allow our children, our teenage children, our younger children, wherever they are, or even adults in our lives, to know that no matter what you're going through, I'll be there to support you. I don't know why I wanted to do this, but I felt led to. and I've done it. I hope I won't lose any relationships because I did this. Because like I said, there's sensitive information in it. And like my mother, I love you. I love you, and I thank God you never throw me in a no garbage bag. Although Mama wouldn't have allowed it. But when I saw that, I reflected and I was like, I can't imagine what my mother must have gone through living in a community where, because you got pregnant as a teenager, you were looked down on, you were ridiculed, you were talked about, you felt less than. It must have been hard. And like I said, you and I don't think you did it intentionally. If you're listening this, I don't think you did it intentionally, but I did feel a sense of rejection. And every now and then it comes back. It comes back, but I'm gonna fight to let it go, to just let myself know that it was the past. It was not intentional, and it was done because you probably did not have the kind of support or information or whatever it was that you needed at the time. But thank you for not throwing me in a bag, although you were a teenager when you had me. And like I said, encourage your young people to make the right choices, no matter what happened. Let them, tell them to stay within the law, because there are repercussions for bad decisions. Okay, guys, so I'm going to end it here before I say what I'm not supposed to say and get myself in any trouble. So I'm going to end it here. I'm going to say, remember to like, share, subscribe, and come back for more. And thank you for listening. Have a blessed day. I love you. God loves you. Peace out.